Tell me if this sounds familiar. Call of Duty is dying! Call of Duty is dead! You bashing your head through a wall after hearing it again for the millionth time. Yet Call of Duty remains alive and well. Better than ever, you could say. Modern Warfare 2 2022 broke record sales on its release, and Modern Warfare 3 has generated a lot of buzz. So not only is Call of Duty not dead now, for the foreseeable future, it will never die. What I love about this ongoing controversial debate is that most of the time, there are two polar opposite ends of the spectrum. One end completely despises the existence of the new Call of Duties because of how far they have gone from the old COD games, and the other end loves the new era of Call of Duty, most likely consisting of new fans to the franchise, which will be one of my bigger points later on in the video. And then there may be you, an outsider looking in. You may be thinking of beginning your journey as a Call of Duty player, dipping your toe in the vast scene, or you may be a casual fan of the franchise, but you're not willing to go to war for it either. You just enjoy partying up with your friends and having a good time. But you're also genuinely curious about the state of the franchise, and you're wondering whether spending your time and money on this seemingly timeless game is worth it. After all, it has been on top of the FPS genre for about 20 years now, and the newest installment, Modern Warfare 3, is still fresh upon its release. So let's dive deep into it, shall we? You see, Call of Duty took the FPS world by storm back in 2007 when Call of Duty 4 released, the original Modern Warfare. This marked the beginning of what is known today as the golden age of Call of Duty. Yes, we know Call of Duty became the household name for the FPS genre. We know it became the most popular and influential FPS of the late to early 2000s. But why? There was just something different about COD that no other competitor in the FPS genre could offer. What was that magic touch that other games just could not replicate? To put it very simply, Call of Duty has always been what we call the McDonald's of gaming. What I mean by that is pretty straightforward. Call of Duty is the fast food of gaming. It's quick and easy. It may not be the best thing for you to ingest, but again, that's not the point. The point is to offer the easiest possible experience for a new player to the franchise. Let's face it, the basic concept of COD is to point and shoot. It's quite that simple. That's why anyone can get into the game and easily find themselves an avid consumer of the franchise. That's not to say you can't play tactically, as you would in another FPS like Rainbow Six Siege, but that's what has always been the unique part of COD. You're not restricted to playing a certain playstyle. You can play in any way you want to in COD, from a more aggressive rushing playstyle, to a campy tactical playstyle, to quick scoping and trick shotting. There is a ton of variety, and when a game opens up variety to the players, it becomes a lot more fun and interesting. Most importantly though, in regards to COD's simple point and shoot concept, that doesn't mean there ain't a skill gap. The higher skilled players absolutely develop tactics to give themselves the advantage in engagements over the enemy. I'm talking anything from bunny hopping, to drop shotting, to the new snaking method. But here was the problem with that. The meta never really changed with Call of Duty. Sure, there may have been a jetpack and advanced movement phase, but COD was still fundamentally the same game. So the same players who were good at the old Call of Duties were still going to be good at the newer Call of Duties, and players who were always bad at the old Call of Duties were still going to be bad at the newer Call of Duties, which obviously left a sour taste in the mouths of consumers. The recycled Call of Duty multiplayer formula was growing old for much of the player base. Casual gamers were tired of getting curb stomped by sweats who knew the game inside and out after the first weekend of each game's release. So as the skill gap continued to skyrocket over the years, Call of Duty's nightmare was beginning to come true. Call of Duty's downfall began feeling inevitable. From the letdown of COD Ghosts, to the failed experiment of the jetpack advanced movement era, to the failed return to boots on ground with COD World War II, Call of Duty's future was looking pretty dim. It was time for COD's multi-billion-dollar publisher Activision to make a decision quick. Either continue to dig their own grave, releasing recycled games and drive new players away from the franchise, or they could save the franchise from falling into a pit of irrelevancy. And there was only one way to do that: innovate. Activision desperately needed to close that skill gap between the good players and the bad players, and that's when everything changed in 2019, when Modern Warfare was born. Or should I say reborn, or rebooted, whatever, you get the point. But COD's longtime skill gap issue was solved, and dare I say, it revived Call of Duty, sort of. Modern Warfare's lead studio, Infinity Ward, solved Activision's problem with their total revamping of the multiplayer concept. What Infinity Ward did was completely change the way Call of Duty multiplayer played. What they did was basically throw everything we knew about COD after all these years and just, well, throw it away. One new concept they introduced was loud footsteps. It introduced the new meta of sound whoring, Loud footsteps totally changed the dynamic of how people played. Players now relied on audio more than ever, which slowed the game down a ton and created this new era of rat campers. Everyone became afraid to even move, and it didn't help that Infinity Ward also introduced doors. Indestructible doors. Yeah, this one is still confusing to me. The players seem to be more conditioned to accept it now after 4 years of confusion, but it still has me scratching my head as to what these doors have to offer, other than another way for players to worry about making too much noise, thereby leading to modern camp fare. Unsuppressed weapon fire, which used to show up as red dots, was removed from the minimap, which removed map awareness and made the minimap essentially useless, considering it made silencers useless and the ghost perk made you invisible on the minimap at all times because it did not require you to move an inch. Kinda like subscribing to IMD1, which is free and guarantees more enjoyable content in the future. Not to mention maps that were now mazes. The simple beloved 3-lane structure was gone and replaced with a horde of buildings and windows. Not only did this create a stagnant flow to the game, but it made spawns essentially random, which caused many games to go the distance. It made a simple timeless mode like Team Deathmatch a living hell for players. I've never played so many games on TDM not being able to reach the maximum score of 75 kills. It was horrendous. So yeah, you're probably starting to see a pattern here. The traditional Call of Duty experience was ruined. You could even say it died. So now you're asking, well, if Modern Warfare 2019 ruined Call of Duty, then how did it revive the franchise? Well, that's the whole irony in this whole situation. By killing the traditional Call of Duty experience, Activision revived the franchise. All of those changes Infinity Ward revamped in Modern Warfare 2019 may have been seen as negatives to veteran fans, but Activision now had a new target audience. They had to keep up with the times, the new generation of Call of Duty fans who benefit from all those changes I mentioned and more. Don't believe me? Ask Infinity Ward themselves.
Our weapons are a bit more lethal than they were in the Black Ops, the recent more Black Ops, and that helps a lower skill player get a kill.
But that approach that you're describing there isn't going to come at the expense of the hardcore players, right?
That's not the plan, right? But
liar! Time to kill became quicker than ever to cover up bad aim. Safe spaces were being added more and more to assist lesser skilled players, and most importantly, with Modern Warfare's release, Activision and Infinity Ward began a long-fought battle over something that is still controversial to this day: skill-based matchmaking. Yes, skill-based matchmaking has reportedly been in Call of Duty going all the way back to COD 4, according to a former COD developer. However, longtime consumers of the franchise quickly began to notice there was something wacky going on with the matchmaking in Modern Warfare. It's a huge reason tons of players left Modern Warfare 2 2022 to get away from the sweats. And let's just say it hasn't gotten any better with Modern Warfare 3. Games began to feel more and more sweaty, as if you were playing for a $100,000 cash prize in a CDL tournament. The community began to notice a pattern. The better you played, the harder the lobbies got, and the worse you played, the easier the lobbies got. This resulted in a massive surge of reverse boosting and VPN bot lobbies. Even creators were exploiting the system to achieve better gameplays, which created a whole other controversy in itself. Even casual players went through the trouble just to have an ounce of fun. Players were, and still are, sick and tired of being punished for playing good, for being skilled, and they were sick of COD rewarding players for sucking or having a bad match. It exposed how flawed the system truly is, because there's no real way to tell if you're improving or not. You're just being put into lobbies with clones of yourself, from one skill bracket to the next. But again, this is what benefits the bad players, Call of Duty's target audience, so they don't get curb stomped in pubs every game. But why are they COD's target audience, you ask? It's very simple. Casual fans of COD are more likely to spend money on microtransactions. The Battle Pass changed everything about Call of Duty, which I touched on in the last video about live service ruining the franchise. There is a term in gaming we use to describe these types of gamers: whales, or in the COD community, we call them COD suckers. But gaming whales are the types of gamers who spend loads of money on bundles and cosmetic purchases. Maybe you are this type of player, or you despise this type of player, because ultimately, they enable Activision to prioritize bundles over quality content. As long as players continue buying those bundles, so will the Battle Pass continue. Unless Call of Duty sees a massive decrease in Battle Pass and cosmetic sales, I don't see this system going anywhere in the near future, especially since this seems to be the widely accepted and popular model for AAA live service games. And obviously, with the Battle Pass came Battle Royale Warzone. You know, you could say Blackout before with Black Ops 4, but Warzone really changed the whole identity of Call of Duty. The rise of Fortnite and PUBG led to the takeover of Battle Royale in the online gaming industry. The impact was so big that Call of Duty had to jump on the trend to spark that revival of the franchise. But now that COD delved into the free-to-play scene with Warzone, it left Activision with two choices. Either they can maintain their focus on traditional 6v6 multiplayer and have Warzone as a nice little mode on the side, like Black Ops 4 and Blackout, or they could prioritize Warzone as they shift their focus onto Battle Royale. Activision chose the latter, and it marked a new era within the franchise. Why do you think microtransactions have taken over the Call of Duty scene? The only way to generate revenue in these free-to-play games from the consumers is obviously by cosmetics. That is why COD has shifted their focus into marketing cosmetics as much as possible. They make billions of dollars off this crap. Just look at how successful COD Mobile has been for them. So the prioritization of Warzone led to multiplayer becoming basically an afterthought, but it didn't matter. The COD community became conditioned to expect games to be unfinished and broken on launch due to the promise of this new live service model, which assures fans that there will be future content and soon the devs will clean up the game. Yeah, just buy our bundles in the meantime as you wait for our lackluster drip-fed content season after season. We promise you'll be satisfied. It's total garbage, but it works for them, which is why it will continue. The power is in the player's hands, I always say that, and sadly, a large chunk of the player base is choosing to use that power to buy overpriced cosmetics, instead of forcing Activision's hands to truly release a good game for all consumers to enjoy, not just the Stockholm Syndrome COD suckers. So until Activision sees that drop-off in sales and buzz, they will get their way, and COD will never die, whether it's for the best or worse for the community. Other than Activision's annoying business practices keeping Call of Duty afloat, I just wanted to chime in on one last factor that I don't believe to be significant, but it's something I think will be relatable to many COD fans: nostalgia. Nostalgia is something that keeps players coming back for more Call of Duty. Modern Warfare 3 2023 is proof in itself, after Sledgehammer brought back all OGMW2 maps from 2009, as well as many iconic weapons such as the ACR and the UMP. Even if you return exclusively for the launch of a new COD, or if it's late at night and you just want to return to the franchise you grew up with, there's still that desire at some point to return to it, that urge. You may have even given up on COD at this point, and I can't even blame you there. You just miss the old days, and you wish you could return to them. So one night, maybe you do boot COD back up. Even if it isn't one of the newer COD games, it may be one night out of the year, but it still satisfied that desire to relive that COD experience again, even if it is just a shell of its former glory. Nonetheless, I genuinely believe Call of Duty will never die. Has that old magic feeling died? Sure. I'd say that's pretty undeniable at this point, especially after games like Vanguard and Modern Warfare 2 2022. However, as we know, Activision will continue to evolve and innovate the franchise in order to stay on top of the FPS genre and proceed to make billions of dollars off their consumers. Players will keep coming back for that fast food. Their addiction and their FOMO will always kick in. The Battle Pass will remain at the forefront of Call of Duty, and the bundles will still be irresistible to many players. So whether it's good or bad, the prestigious Call of Duty name will live to see another day. Comment whether you think Call of Duty will ever die in the near future, and share this with anyone you know who likes the game, even if they don't play COD. So subscribe, hit that like button, you already know what to do, but I got one more thing to say. I am a sentinel. 'Tis been one.